Welcome, guys, to another episode of Recruitment Entrepreneurs by Recruit CRM. I'm Sean, your host, and today I have the privilege of interviewing Benjamin Kadic. I'm not sure if I pronounced that right again. Ben runs these two amazing businesses across Central and Eastern Europe, Storsen and Popcorn Recruiters. They're heavily involved in recruitment and outsourcing in the region, and we're going to give it to Ben to tell us a little more about his business.
Okay, thanks, Sean. So yes, we started, I think, 2.5 years ago. So we are still young in terms of the development, but we immediately started with 3 companies. So this is not the usual scenario for startups. So basically, we opened a company in Prague, which is doing all the sales operations for our outsourcing recruitment operations. While in Bosnia, where we are seated with our delivery operations, we have 2 additional companies. One, it's Popcorn Recruiters, which is only doing recruitment positions mainly in Eastern Europe or Western Europe, while we have some projects in USA and Asia. While Storsen is an outsourcing company where we have a couple of teams sitting here in Bosnia, but working for our partners in Switzerland, Czech Republic, Austria, and other countries.
And so, Ben, would it be correct to say Storsen basically does just recruitment outsourcing, or do you outsource other functions as well?
No, we outsource most of the other functions in the Storsen. So basically, it's going to be IT, technical support, graphic designs. Those are the functions that our Popcorn Recruiter brand attracts, while we place them under the Storsen umbrella, and then we deliver them or deploy them as I would say, a remote or satellite resources. So we are not in fully outsourcing services. We are outsourcing or outstaffing services, where we basically deploy the full team to a client, and they coordinate and supervise them, and they run them as their own.
Would it be right to say both your companies essentially coordinate on many positions, where you're recruiting for the client and also hiring and managing the resource?
Yeah, so for us, the pitch is quite clear. When we are approaching to a client, we say, do you need resources? And in most of the case, this is the pain that most of the big companies have. And they said yes. And especially after the pandemic, we almost don't ask anymore, is it an on-site position or not? Because nobody's onboarding now. And in those options, when we have a remote opportunity, we immediately introduce, okay, those people can be based in my company. They can be outsourced under much, affordable rates and competitive service delivery performance. And then I recruit them, place them in our company, and outsource them directly to a client.
And now that you're saying affordable, right? For the people that are watching who would like to know about the economics, or maybe even someone who might want to partner with you after listening to this, and
sure.
To you, what do the economics in your market look like? Like, how in a range, what would you charge for a placement? What would you charge the client to manage this resource? What would you pay out? Just rough numbers so the audience has a better idea of how the business works.
So I think for the people who are familiar with the European standards, this will be quite clear. You have a Western country standard where, you have a rates of, let's say, IT developer or programmer starts with the rates of 60+ euro per hour, and it can go up to 100 and 120 euros. Then you come to Eastern Europe, and then Eastern Europe combines the rates between 45 up to 60 euros, for, let's say, Java developer. And then you come to Balkans. This is the most unfamiliar region in the Europe, because it's still new and it's emerging in terms of outsourcing and recruitment and resourcing capacity. It was, for a long time, it was a huge talent pool for Eastern and Western countries, but now the operations came here. While here you can find the rates from 25 up to 40 euros. So basically it's now scaling down. And if a Western country approach directly to Balkan, for them it's like crazy affordable. While with the partnership with Eastern countries, we have long-term relationship, and we mostly have this BOT model, so build, operate, transfer model, where a company takes at least 2 years, one team, and build them up to 20, 30 people, and then take over the company and they open their own legal operations in Boston.
So you literally help them build an entire team here, not just like one employee, and then basically take over that team.
And it's usually two years process, where they say, okay, we're going to need 5 to 25 people. And after 2 years, it's like, this is your team, your offices, your equipment, you take over and register a legal company.
And Benjamin, how do economics as an agency work? So obviously we know in Japan, people can maybe charge even 30-35% of a person's salary for a placement. Maybe in Ireland, in the UK, it's closer to 15 to 20%. What are these numbers like in your region, right? Is closer to like the 8-10% mark? Are you charging, or would your competitors charge closer to the 20% mark?
Yeah. So for us, it's quite, I would say it's fortunate and unfortunate at the same time that we are working with all those regions, because all our recruitment operations are based internationally. So basically, we are not doing anything here in the region of Balkan. We are only outsourcing and placing people in our offices if the requirement is such. While if we are doing Scandinavian or UK market or Eastern market, we are trying to localize the standards in terms of our recruitment capacity and the price ranges. So having, just the salary ranges and understanding the salary ranges in UK, in Czech Republic or wherever, you have to localize your standards and you have to adjust to their usual prospect of using a recruitment agency. So I would say between 15 and 20%. This is something that we, usually charge.
So if I call you, Ben, and I say, hey, Recruit CRM's looking for, a Java developer in Bosnia, and we want your help managing them, and say they make 30 or 40,000 euros, I would be expected to pay 15% of that as a recruitment fee to get talent, right?
Yeah.
And now we've obviously talked about what your business does. So before we go deeper into that, I would like to start with your story of who you are as a human and how we got here. So, the very basics. Where were you born? What was your dream job growing up? And how did you end up doing what you do?
So recruitment was not my dream job, just to be clear about it. I'm born and raised here in Bosnia, and I stayed here for all my life. I had some opportunities during, some younger ages to move out from the country, and my target location was Australia, honestly. And I dreamed to live in Melbourne, but when the kids came, those plans just changed immediately. So my career started quite early. I immediately started working during my high school and during my college years, and I was always experiencing some kind of work where there's some interaction with people. This is something that I, passionately enjoy, and this is something that I, always try to look in all my experiences. And I was moving from, industry to industry. Then I came up to one of the leading job boards in Bosnia, and I stayed there for 10 years. And, at the end, I was running the sales and recruitment team. And I kind of like that. I saw the potential in terms of the industry. It was quite new here. It was not that popular because, we are a country with a high unemployment rate, and most of the jobs can be, finished with the references, with the job board and whatever. But then I got introduced with the recruitment in those final years of that experience. Before we were acquired by Daily Mail, then afterwards by one Finnish companies. And then I noticed what is the potential of recruitment in the international market. Here, that was not that popular, still because of the high unemployment rate. And I met my partner at that time. He was my client. He was sitting in Czech Republic running one of the biggest IT companies, American IT company, CSC.
Okay.
And he said, Benjamin, I made 1,500 people here, 1,500 seats in Czech Republic from 60 to 1,500. I can do that anywhere. I already did that, transferring people from Frankfurt to Prague. I think I can do this with you. I need this resourcing capacity. I know this outsourcing capacity. We can do this together. And before that, I had a couple of options, joining with somebody and starting some company, but I was not ready, and I was not even sure that I want to go in this recruitment capacity. But from the moment when we started building up the business scenario, proof of concept, we did a couple of researches. We immediately said, okay, this is something that we were going to do.
So to cut you off there, right? Just to get more context. So, how old were you when you started your company?
I was 35, I think.
You were 35. You started this company with this client that you've been working with in the Czech Republic. Did you guys put up, you know how my interviews go. Did you guys put up a bunch of money to start this, or did you just have clients from day one who were giving you money?
So there was no client. There were expectation there's going to be a client, but it's going to, it was all of our savings, and it was all of our networks and all our experience. So immediately invest everything. So I know it's quite risky, and I would not recommend this to everybody. But when you feel confident, and when you already have a client base and you have a network, and you have an outreach on different locations and different services and industries, I took the risk, and luckily for me, it paid off.
And obviously, right, as a 35-year-old guy, I think you were married, you had kids by this time. So obviously you have to feed them, they school, all of that. And when you started your business, what time did you give yourself? Like, I'm sure you'd saved up some money. So were you like, okay, I'm going to give this business 6 months, 1 year, 2 years? How long were you going to try before you said, okay, if this doesn't work in 12 months, I'm going to go back and get a job?
We said 6 months. So, it's not because of the money, and it's because of the patience, because with 35, you don't have that much, and you see everything as a risk. But with us, we put a bar on 6 months, and put additional 6 months in terms of, value of the investment that we have. But in the first 6 months, we managed to pull off. And for us, the recruitment business was a door opener. And this is something that we needed. When you are, working in outsourcing industry, just comparing yourself or competing with other, most popular, more experienced locations such as India, China, and all the others, you cannot, open those doors quite easily. But when you're knocking on those doors and saying, I can help you with your, resources, missing resources, whatever they are, is it on-site or other location or potentially remotely, this tricks their mind, and they said, okay, what you can do? I have this really complex position, let's say solution architect in Belgium, and I cannot handle that. And we mostly took those complex projects, and this is how we opened the doors.
Yeah, so you're essentially saying recruitment for you wasn't like the main business. Recruitment was something that would hopefully be break even, but it would help you these big outsourcing contracts that will pay you on a recurring basis over many years.
Yes.
That's super smart, right? That's like selling the shaving blade for the shaving thing for free, and then charging for the razor sort of thing.
There's one more point I have to mention that, and besides those two complementary businesses, we acquired the franchise contract or franchise business for a leading association of promotion of outsourcing businesses from Poland called ABSL. So basically, we had 3 of those pillars. So we were promoting on local marketing why outsourcing is important. We have members there. We have companies who are, we have an outsourcing business who is delivering the services, and we have a recruitment who is filling out those positions and helping out the companies. So basically, we made an ecosystem, which is not the usual scenario. People initially start to, producing something, but we immediately, put the full ecosystem, and this was why the shortening of 6 months was quite easy.
And so when you started, like, was it just you and this co-founder, or did you start by hiring 2 or 3 people and just having a team in place?
So first 6 months, it was just 2 of us.
Okay, and then were you profitable the first year? Sorry, not first month.
First year, not. No. So we started by half of the 2018, and we closed the year with some small loss, which we covered with some of the consulting gigs. But immediately from the beginning of the next year, we had like 200% profit.
Okay, so you were profitable in 2019, and then
immediately.
And were you able to close at a profit in 2020? I know a lot of
we did it. We did it. Don't ask me why and how, but we managed to do it because when the industry was hit, in our case, having two or three businesses or 2 or 3 services, was some options to pull out, because when the recruitment, and I would say, luckily and also unluckily, we were working almost for most of the biggest companies, in the region, huge companies and huge corporates who immediately start with the recruitment. While the outsourcing became more and more popular because people cannot be hired and onboarded. So when the recruitment fell down, outsourcing immediately starts up. And so this is how we leverage the pandemic.
And what does your team look like today? What's, across your businesses or verticals? How many people and what do they do?
So we have in our recruitment team, we have approximately 10 plus some additional resources who are freelancers on other locations. What we have 10 people sitting here, and they are mostly IT recruitment specialists. So basically we are working on agile recruitment models. So this is something that we are comfortable working with, and we are quite satisfied there. While in other terms, in outsourcing business, we have a couple of deployed teams who are sitting here in Bosnia, but working for, let's say, fintech company in Switzerland. The other is Microsoft project that we have a couple of people sitting here working for Microsoft on German and Dutch language. And we have some additional teams in Microsoft Dynamics working for Czech partners. So basically they are, deployed in different regions in different areas.
So what would be the total number of people on your payroll, like full-time employees?
Approximately 25 to 30 people. We have a couple of people sitting in Bulgaria too, in Slovenia also, working for our international clients.
And these are your core employees, right? Not the people you're billing to the client, but your employees that you're...
So my employees, they are approximately 15, and we have at least 15 more for deploying for a client.
Got it. Solid. That's awesome. And that's a lot of progress for 2.5 years in recruitment without funding, right? You've raised no external funding for this company.
There was no funding available at that time, and basically all our resources, came from our own investments and savings, and additionally came from partnership that we already had with some companies who immediately, considered us as a potential vendor. I would say the unfortunate thing was that we worked for really high, big corporate companies where just vendoring process takes up to 3 months, while, payments and everything can last for much longer time. But we made it up from those first initial 6 months and then immediately started working for companies.
So the biggest challenge, Benjamin, would you say was the sheer payment cycle, the amount of time it takes to get
Yes, just vendoring.
And is that still a problem? Is that still the biggest problem in the business?
Not now. In this moment, we, pandemic changed the perspective of recruitment, and I think most of our colleagues from recruitment industry can agree on this, because the bigger the company, the bigger hit they took during the pandemic. So with the small companies, they immediately, showed the flexibility, they showed the mobility in terms of placing and onboarding people on different locations. And this is how our scope of recruitment clients immediately changed. So the companies in size of 250 up to 500 people, they immediately started acquiring additional resources, and they were open to have those resources anywhere. While companies of 2 and 3, more thousand plus candidates, they stopped immediately. They said, okay, let's see what is going to happen. We still need people, but we don't know how to onboard them. For them, it was quite challenging to do that.
And one more question, right? Have you already achieved that mark of getting your business to $1 million or €1 million in revenue?
So we did it this year.
2020 was the year when the world was falling apart.
When we reached the point of that.
You broke past $1 million revenue, so congratulations. That's a big milestone. The first million is supposed to be the hardest. And so when you started your business, what was something that you expected that should have happened that didn't end up happening? So
I think that there was two, I would not say disappointment, but it was challenges, for understanding in the industry and the people who are working in it. For me, the biggest challenge was, selling us as a location. Yeah. When you're selling in outsourcing business, I was not that aware how people, are conservative in terms of the location. Yeah. Where in most of the cases, the location is not that relevant, how the resource or the quality of the performance that you're going to have. So this was a big challenge for me to understand, why is this as such? Because, you're affordable enough, you're, compliant in all the expectations in terms of delivery and everything, while you're still in Balkans. And Balkans are still not in EU. And so for them, this was a challenge.
And is there also a language difference? Like, what's the core language that's spoken in Bosnia?
So it's Bosnian language. It's quite similar to Serbian and Croatian. So basically it's ex-Yugoslavian language. So it's almost used in most of the countries in ex-Yugoslavia country. But I would say that English is, quite advanced, and it's almost conditional in all schools. And German, which was something that I was also surprised by, German is the most use language in Bosnia and combining all the other countries in the region, like Serbia, Macedonia. Bosnia has the most that all the other countries combined. And that's what this was a breaking point for us in terms of outsourcing, because the German language is the most required language in outsourcing, at least in Europe. And this is how we converted our clients and saying, yes, we have this here. We know we are not EU, but we have German language here. Yeah, so this is how we managed to get them.
And Germany, Switzerland, and Austria are lower competition than UK, because I know all the Indian friends we have here are attacking.
They are usual suspects. We are trying to go in Benelux, Scandinavia, and DACH region. Those are the regions that we are targeting.
That's a smart way to do it, and you've obviously hit 1 million, so you've figured it out. And so, one more question: what's the hardest part of your job? What's the hardest part of running this company, even today? Like, if you had to name one.
I would say being closer to my people. We are still a small company, but at some point of time, I think that I moved away, from their ambitions and their expectations and everything. And this is, for me, this is the biggest challenge. I want to be so close to them, and I want to follow every step of their development. But at some point of time, all the duties and all the expectations, they move me away from the people. And this is something that I really miss. I cannot even imagine being a CEO of 200 or 5,000 people. I really like to be close to my employees and my colleagues, and this is something that I miss.
When you say close, do you mean being physically close to them in the same office across their desk, or just being able to spend more time with them?
Being able to spend more time to listen to them and to try to develop them and their career in compliance with something that we can produce in our company.
And so, and how are you trying to mitigate that then? Like, as a follow-up question, like, Ben, what are you doing to fix that?
So I try to be as close as much in terms of those development phases, and I tend to push my people to do their GD change at least once a year. So I try to challenge them to take over the new adventures, new challenges, new duties, and with that, I feel that I'm, involved. I feel that I'm, influenced in any way, and that I supported their vision, because my vision and their vision doesn't mean to be, complied all the time. So this is how I challenge them, and this is how they challenge me to think more about their career. What are the next steps, and how can I react on them?
Solid. And what are Storsen's and Popcorn Recruiters' growth plans for the next year or two? What's the goal? All the kinds of goals you have.
Yeah, so with recruitment, we are really being careful, and this is something that we are learned by the 2020, I would say unfortunate 2020, where we don't want to scale that much in terms of our internal people, while we want to express more in RPO. This is something that we are planning to do in 2021, because there are many requirements coming in this region. So the RPO will be something that we will introduce to our clients, because the language specific and the requests are coming from the market. While from the outsourcing bit, the sky is the limit. Pandemic is going in favor of outsourcing business, and now we are, there are so many, options opening for us, and we have. Our interest is to open another location in Bulgaria for 2020, and we want to have an office there and start operations there, because this was the market that we noticed the biggest changes in terms of the resource capacity.
All right, cool. I like it. You know what you're doing, right? Which is important. I have two last questions before we wrap this up. One is the standard. What's your advice to your 20-year-old self?
Have a family much earlier. Don't wait up to 20 years. Yeah, because your patience is going, much lower, and your focus is much lower. I would say start a company much earlier, because there's no challenge that I was, smart enough with 35 that I could not bridge with 25. There was no challenges. Seen from this perspective, it was just focus, just, having a plan, having an interest, and in my case, having a partner. I would honestly not consider doing this by myself. This is something that I definitely learned from the options. While from the other hand, I would say be more patient with the people. So you have to be patient with people doesn't mind is this your employee or your client or your partner. Just be more patient, because all of them needs time, to adjust, to see where their potential is. While in my case, I'm pushing always 3 to 5 years up front, and this is a big challenge for me, because I'm trying to
you're trying to build and grow a business, and not everyone in the same thought.
So in my case, I'm not even 20% from what I'm expecting to do in next 3 to 5 years.
And so obviously you've stated that you're married and you have a couple of kids, or married / in a relationship and have 2 kids. I obviously cannot assume. And last, this is a new question I'm adding from this episode, right? I haven't asked this to other people before. What advice would you give to somebody that was starting a new recruitment firm today, like in 2021?
Okay, so today makes much more impact than it was. If you asked me this in February, it would be a totally different story. So I would say, immediately understand what is the niche. Don't just go around and sell your services to anybody or anywhere with any type of the service level. So I would say, know your niche, understand where you're good at and where you have a talent pool or the network that you can reach out to clients, and people will expect that you are, specialist for it. Or is it a network, or is it a recruitment service? So just going there and saying, okay, I'm just one of the recruitment agency, doesn't help anymore. And as you can see with all the big companies, big recruitment agency, they are becoming more and more specialized and more niche in terms of location, services, and the profiling in terms of the industry. So just starting as a small agency, it would benefit you much more, because you're going to develop your relationship with specific niche that you feel comfortable. And the second advice I would say, surround yourself with the people who can trust you at some point, and they don't have to be your employee. I was luckily enough that I had a couple of really important friends that I mentioned every time, who were there, who were supporting me, and who bridged those usual challenges that the startups has. Questioning yourself, questioning your partner, questioning the services, questioning the location. And if you're surrounded with those people who know you enough, and you can say, come on, you already passed this. You've proven yourself in past experiences. Don't go there. It's a black hole. That can help you a lot. If you are just alone by yourself, and if you don't listen to people surrounding you, most probably gonna come to some challenges that you cannot handle by yourself.
Totally get it. And so guys, the main watchword here, right? What Benjamin gave us was, don't just go out and start a firm and say you'll take any kind of business that you get. Figure out what your niche is or niche is, and exactly focus on that. And so if you're recruiting AWS solutions engineers, just focus on that. Don't start recruiting carpenters just because there's one person who's looking for one. And so dial down on your niche, figure it out, and make it happen. Thank you, Benjamin, for doing this. We really appreciate it, and we wish you the best of luck in 2021.
Thank you. Thank you.